Everybody, welcome to my channel, Be Free Now with Maria. Today's topic is feel your feelings. Feel your feelings is about allowing yourself to be comfortable with sitting with your feelings. A lot of times when our feelings come up, we get overwhelmed by them, so we try to run from them. We avoid them, we try to act like that feeling isn't there and move on to something else. And we do this sometimes without even noticing it. It's almost like subconsciously, right? It's like we're going about our day, something happens, we feel uncomfortable about something, and we either gonna go with it if it's like anger and allow it to come out in whichever way it needs to in that particular moment, or we're gonna run from it, meaning that we're going to try not to feel that feeling. So we want to feel our feelings, and including anger, even though anger can sometimes, right, get us into trouble. But we want to be able to feel it, and we want to be able to recognize that it's there, and we want to understand what is the anger about. So while we don't want to necessarily allow it to unleash itself in a way that it's harmful to somebody else or to ourselves, we want to be able to connect with it and acknowledge it, connect with it, and understand it, right? Feel where it's coming from, what it's connected to, so that we can address it. Because if we don't understand where it's coming from, what's behind it, what's it really connected to, not just the situation that just happened, but where is it really coming from, we won't be able to address it and move past it. And when I say past it, is in that moment in time. It doesn't mean that we won't feel it again at a later time, but every time we do, we go through this process and it stops just running amok, like taking over and unleashing itself in an uncontrollable way. We recognize that we're feeling it, we sit down with it, right? And when I say sit, we don't have to physically sit, but we sit with it psychologically, and we connect to where it's coming from, and we gain awareness from it, and then we do something that helps us shift from that space, to consciously shift from that space. It doesn't happen without our consent, right? We have to say something to ourselves or do something in order to shift from that space. So we can say to ourselves, I'm not gonna, address this the way that a part of me wants to address it, because it's not worth it to me. I rather understand this better, right? So you're consciously talking to yourself about not allowing yourself to go there and allowing something to unleash in a way that's harmful to yourself or to somebody else. And then there's also the learning process of it, right? Because the anger is can show us something, right? It can teach us something about something that we're storing inside. In other words, a belief that may be interfering with our peace in that particular moment. So, like, for example, let's say we're driving and someone cuts us off, right? I mean, there's many different ways that people will respond to a situation like that. Generally, right, the way we respond, we really attribute it to the situation at hand. So, for example, if somebody is very angry about it and becomes aggressive, their thought is, well, it's because they cut me off and blah, 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 blah. But the reality is that somebody else can be cut off the same way, in the same aggressive fashion, and not necessarily respond the same way. They may bless a person with love. Imagine that, right? So it's not necessarily the situation at hand that is the reason why we're so angry and acting out the way we are. There's another reason, right? So what is it connected to? It could be connected to anything. But when you sit with that anger, right, and it's like, what was this about? Why did I get so upset about this? Why did I feel so tense? And you contemplate that, or you journal about it, you start to see that, let's say, for example, I felt disrespected. Well, why did I feel so disrespected? I mean, they were probably rushing to a place and had nothing to do with me, or they probably were upset or something else, right? We can say to ourselves, I mean, who knows why people do what they do, right? It could be countless of reasons why. But the important thing is recognizing that what they're doing, it's about them. And how we're feeling is about us. It is about us because ultimately, three people can be cut off the same way and you're going to get three different responses. And so if we say that we responded that way because of the action at hand, we're not exactly 100% being truthful with ourselves, even though we think that we are. There's another reason for it. And we want to start understanding that. And as we do this, right, we expand our own self-awareness. And because we're expanding that self-awareness, we are able to make shifts, right? So I've been big on self-awareness lately, but it's because it helps us make shifts and change patterns, or at least start the process of it, because without it, we won't be able to get to where we want to be, right? We say we want to feel good, but we're not taking out the time to understand when we're not feeling good. And even the times when we are feeling good, that's something to explore as well, right? Which usually we're not gravitating towards trying to understand it because we're like, oh, everything is fine, I'm happy. But sometimes we need to look at what's making us happy, right? Are we happy because we got our way? Which usually, yes, we like when we get our way, so it's understandable that we're happy. But if we're happy because we got our way, well, what's going to happen when we don't get our way, right? So in other words, our happiness then is contingent on something happening. And things aren't necessarily always going to happen the way we want them to, only sometimes. And the times that they do, we're going to feel happy. And then the times that it doesn't, we're not going to feel happy. So guess what? We're only happy when things go our way. And now our happiness is contingent on things going our way. So we don't necessarily want our emotions to be regulated by external forces. We want to understand what's happening, and we want to be able to create balance for ourselves, emotionally speaking, whether things are going our way or not going our way. And that's not to say we can't enjoy, things going our way, but we don't want it necessarily to be the only reason why we are feeling good within ourselves. So our feelings have a lot to show us. And this is why it's important to feel all of them and not to try and restrict them. Usually, right, the fear is that if I connect with that fear, I am going to unravel, or I'm going to feel really emotional. I'm going to cry, and I don't want to cry. I don't like to cry. I'm not a crier, and so forth. But holding back our emotions only restricts us and limits us. Expressing them gives them room to just be and to show us what we need to know so that we can get closer to where we want to be, emotionally speaking. So before I end, I want to pick a word from my bag of words and see what else I'm inspired to share. Oh, doubt. Beautiful. Doubt. Now, doubt is something that we're going to feel when we're feeling uncomfortable. In other words, whenever we're feeling scared, we're going to feel doubt. So if we're feeling a yucky emotion, we're going to feel doubt. Is it safe to feel this? Oh my God, am I going to go back to old negative patterns that I have a handle on now because I felt this intense emotion? And so we're going to have doubt. In other words, let's say that you used to deal with something a certain way and now you're dealing with it in a healthier way, let's say, but you are afraid of feeling a certain emotion because you're afraid of unraveling, then that doubt, right, of your own of maintaining your own emotional safety is going to hold you back. The reality is, right, that as you strengthen your ability to tolerate your emotions, you will be able to handle all of your emotions. So if there's an emotion that feels extremely too intense for you, then don't sit with that one 100% yet. Start with something that feels easier for you to manage so that you can start to tap into that ability within yourself to manage your emotions. And as you start to build confidence in managing your emotions, you then be more able to tolerate a more intense emotion because you can see, wait, I have the ability to go here and then bring myself back here. I have this ability to manage my emotions. So as you practice handling the emotions that you do feel safe sitting with, you will start to realize that you have the strength and the ability to even tolerate those more uncomfortable feelings. So whenever you feel doubt, practice what feels good and build your strength from there. So that's it for today. I hope that helps. Bye for now.